The conference room buzzed around Claire as her phone lit up, Connor's name flashing across the screen. She stepped into the hallway expecting his usual, "How's the trip?" Instead, his voice cut through the line like a blade. "I'm divorcing you. I already sold the apartment, so figure out where you're gonna live." His laugh was cold, triumphant. "Enjoy that." The words hit like a freight train. 6 years of marriage, reduced to a 30-second phone call delivered with the casual cruelty of someone ordering coffee. But it was his next words that lit the fuse. "Nicole and I need the money for our new place. She deserves better than that tiny dump anyway." Oh. The name hung in the air like poison gas. If you're ready to watch Claire destroy the man who thought he could throw her away like garbage, smash that like button. Subscribe to Formidable Revenge channel for more stories of sweet justice. And drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Claire gripped the phone tighter, her knuckles white. "Sounds good," she replied, her voice steady as steel. No way was she giving him the satisfaction of hearing her break. But as Connor hung up, something shifted inside her. The shock gave way to something darker, more dangerous. He thought he'd won. Thought he could sell their home, her home, and waltz into the sunset with his side piece. There was just one problem with his master plan. Connor had no idea what he'd just unleashed. Claire stared at her reflection in the hallway mirror, her mind racing. 6 years. 6 years of believing in a man who just proved himself capable of unthinkable betrayal. The apartment wasn't just their home. It was everything she'd worked for, everything she'd built from nothing. Growing up in foster care had taught Claire one brutal lesson: trust no one but yourself. She'd clawed her way through college, through law school, through every obstacle life threw at her. When she met Connor at a corporate mixer, his easy charm and steady presence had felt like coming home. For the first time, she'd allowed herself to believe in partnership. What a fool she'd been. The signs had been there for months. Connor's late nights, his mysterious phone calls, the way he'd started treating her like a roommate instead of a wife. But Claire had ignored them, buried herself in work, convinced herself she was being paranoid. Now the truth hit her like shattered glass. While she'd been building their life, Connor had been planning his escape. The conference room felt suffocating as she returned to her clients, nodding and smiling while her world collapsed. Her phone buzzed with texts from Connor, casual updates about their divorce as if they were planning a weekend trip. "Already talked to a lawyer. This'll be quick and clean. Nicole's excited to start fresh. You understand, right? By the way, the closing's next week. Buyer's paying cash." Each message was a calculated knife twist, designed to make her feel helpless. Discarded. Forgotten. But Connor had made a critical error. He'd underestimated the woman he'd just declared war on. Claire hadn't survived foster care, law school, and a ruthless corporate world by rolling over when someone tried to destroy her. She'd been playing defense her whole life. Now it was time to go on the attack. The hotel room felt like a fortress as Claire paced, Connor's betrayal replaying in an endless loop. But beneath the hurt, something else was crystallizing. A cold, calculating fury that scared and thrilled her in equal measure. She opened her laptop and pulled up their financial records. Connor had always been careless with paperwork, leaving her to handle the boring stuff, while he focused on his sales career. His arrogance was about to become his downfall. The refinancing documents from 8 months ago glowed on her screen. Connor had been so eager to lock in the lower interest rate that he'd signed everything without reading, including the deed transfer that put the apartment solely in Claire's name. He'd sold a property he didn't own. Claire's hands trembled as the full scope of his stupidity hit her. Not only was the sale invalid, Connor had committed fraud. If he'd already taken money from the buyer, he was looking at criminal charges. Her phone buzzed with another text. "Told Nicole about the windfall. She's picking out furniture for our new place. Life's good." A smile spread across Claire's face, sharp and predatory. Connor thought he was 10 steps ahead, but he'd been playing checkers while she'd been setting up chess. She speed-dialed Sarah Mitchell, her lawyer and the one person who'd understand the delicious irony of Connor's situation. "Claire? How's Denver?" "Cut short," Claire said, her voice deadly calm. "I need you to listen carefully, then I need you to destroy my husband." As she laid out Connor's betrayal and his catastrophic legal exposure, Sarah's low whistle carried through the phone. "He doesn't know about the deed transfer, does he?" "Not a clue. Oh honey, he's not just cooked, he's incinerated." Fraud charges, civil liability, breach of fiduciary duty. I can bury him so deep he'll need a GPS to find daylight. Claire felt something shift inside her chest like a lock clicking open. Do it. Connor wanted to play games. She'd show him what happened to men who underestimated the wrong woman. The buyer called at 7 a.m., Sarah's voice sharp with barely contained glee in Claire's ear. Robert Chin just got the news. He's furious and rightfully so. Connor took a $50,000 deposit for a property he can't legally sell. Claire's coffee grew cold as she absorbed the implications. 50,000. Connor had bragged about the windfall, but she'd assumed he was just being his usual arrogant self. He'd actually taken money he had no right to take. What's Chen's next move? Demands immediate refund plus damages. If Connor can't produce the money. Sarah paused dramatically. Fraud charges. Federal ones since this crossed state lines. Claire's phone lit up with Connor's contact photo. That cocky grin that used to make her heart race now made her stomach turn. She let it ring. Another call. Then another. Finally a text. Need to talk. Something's wrong with the sale. Claire smiled and typed back. In meetings all day. What's the problem? Buyer's lawyer called. Says I don't own the apartment. Obviously a mistake, but need your signature on something. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Sounds complicated. Handle it when I get back. When's that? The beauty of Connor's situation was his own arrogance. He genuinely believed this was just paperwork, a minor hiccup in his master plan. He'd been so focused on his victory lap with Ashley that he hadn't bothered to think through the logistics of his betrayal. Sarah called with updates throughout the day, each more delicious than the last. Chen's retained counsel. They're demanding documentation proving Connor's ownership rights. Connor's lawyer is scrambling. Apparently Connor never mentioned the deed transfer. Because he doesn't know about it. Oh, this gets better. Connor's been telling everyone, including Ashley, that the sale's already done. She's been posting pictures of furniture online, talking about their new chapter. The girl's got expensive taste. Claire's grip tightened on the phone. Ashley. The woman who'd stolen her husband and was now spending money that didn't exist on furniture for a life built on fraud. Send me everything. Every document, every email, every legal brief. I want to know exactly where Connor stands before I come home. Claire, you sound different. Harder. Claire stared out the hotel window at the Denver skyline, her reflection ghost-like in the glass. Good. It's time Connor learned who he married. That evening, Connor's calls came fast and desperate. Claire ignored them all, letting his panic build. Each unanswered ring was another twist of the knife, another moment for the reality of his situation to sink in. But Connor still didn't know the worst part. He still thought this was just a paperwork problem. He had no idea his wife held all the cards. Claire's key turned in the apartment lock with surgical precision. The space felt different, violated somehow, as if Connor's betrayal had poisoned the very air. His presence lingered everywhere. Coffee mug in the sink, jacket thrown carelessly over there, her chair. She was setting her suitcase down when Connor burst through the door, his face flushed with panic and rage. Where the hell have you been? I've been calling for hours. Claire turned slowly, her expression unreadable. Hello, Connor. How was your week? Don't play games with me. The buyer's threatening legal action says I don't own this place. Obviously it's some kind of mistake, but I need you to sign. No mistake. Claire's voice cut through his rambling like a scalpel. Connor froze. What? Claire walked to the kitchen drawer and pulled out a manila folder. The apartment deed. Transferred to my name 8 months ago during the refinancing. You signed off on it, remember? Or did you just scribble your name without reading like you always do? She held up the document, watching his face drain of color. That's impossible. This is half mine. We bought it together. Was half yours. Now it's not. Claire's voice was clinical, emotionless. You can't sell something you don't own, Connor. Which means you just committed fraud. $50,000 worth. The truth hit him like a physical blow. His legs gave out and he collapsed onto the couch they'd picked out together 3 years ago. You don't understand, he whispered. I already spent some of that money. Ashley needed things for. Ashley. Claire tasted the name like poison. Let me guess. Down payment on your love nest? Engagement ring? Or just funding your girlfriend's shopping addiction while you laughed about throwing your wife out on the streets? Connor's face crumpled. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. I was going to tell you properly, but then the opportunity came up and you took $50,000 from a buyer for my property. Each word was a hammer blow. You committed federal fraud. You could go to prison, Connor. You can't do this to me. His desperation exploded into rage. I'm your husband. Claire laughed, a sound devoid of warmth or mercy. Husband? You called me from a business trip to announce our divorce. You sold our home without permission. You stole money that wasn't yours. You're not my husband, Connor. You're a criminal. The apartment fell silent except for Connor's ragged breathing. Fix this, he begged. Please. I'll make it right. I'll leave Ashley, we can work this out. No. The word was final, absolute. You made your choice. Now live with the consequences. Claire's satisfaction evaporated when Sarah's panicked call came at midnight. We have a problem. A big one. Claire's blood turned to ice. What happened? Connor retained Marcus Webb as counsel. That sleazy corporate shark who gets rich criminals off on technicalities. He's claiming the deed transfer was fraudulent. Says you coerced Connor into signing under duress. The phone slipped in Claire's sweaty palm. That's ridiculous. Connor agreed to the transfer for the better interest rate. Doesn't matter. Webb's spinning a story about you manipulating your trusting husband into signing away his rights. He's got Connor ready to testify that you pressured him, threatened him, made him fear for his safety. Claire's chest constricted. They can't prove that. They don't have to prove it. They just have to create reasonable doubt. And Connor's playing the victim beautifully. Tells everyone you've been emotionally abusive for years, controlling the finances, isolating him from friends. The walls of the apartment felt like they were closing in. Outside, Connor's voice drifted up from the courtyard. He was on the phone with someone, his tone animated, confident. There's more, Sarah continued. Ashley's not just some bimbo Connor picked up. She's the daughter of Judge Patricia Winters. As in, the judge who'll likely preside over your case if this goes to trial. Claire's knees gave out. Judge Winters, known for her old-school views on marriage and her soft spot for misunderstood men. If Connor's lawyer painted him as the victim of a manipulative wife, Winters would eat it up. They're also claiming Connor never received proper legal counsel during the deed transfer. That you rushed him into signing without giving him time to review the documents. I didn't rush him into anything. I know that. You know that. But Connor's memory has gotten remarkably creative. He's claiming you told him it was just paperwork, and insisted he sign immediately. Claire sank onto the couch, the weight of her situation crushing down on her. Every advantage she'd thought she had was crumbling. Her legal claim on the apartment was now questionable. The fraud charges against Connor might disappear if he could prove he signed under duress. And Ashley's family connections meant Connor had access to legal firepower Claire couldn't match. Through the window, she watched Connor laughing on his phone, probably telling Ashley how they'd found a way out of their mess. The man who'd betrayed her, stolen from her, humiliated her. He was going to walk away clean while she faced potential charges herself. The injustice of it burned like acid in her throat. She'd played by the rules her entire life, and now those same rules were being twisted to protect the man who'd tried to destroy her. Connor had outmaneuvered her. Claire stared at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, her eyes red-rimmed but blazing with newfound resolve. She'd spent the night pacing, drowning in the quicksand of Connor's legal counterstrike. But as dawn broke, something crystallized in her mind. She'd been playing Connor's game. The legal game, the respectable game, the game where nice girls followed rules and hoped justice would prevail. But Connor had never followed rules. He'd lied, cheated, stolen, and manipulated his way through life, leaving a trail of broken promises and devastated people in his wake. It was time to fight dirty. Claire pulled out her laptop and opened Connor's email account. Password still Ironman 2023, because he was too lazy and arrogant to change it after their separation. What she found made her pulse race. Dozens of emails with Ashley dating back 10 months. Not just affair emails, planning emails. Detailed discussions of their exit strategy from Connor's marriage, including how they'd liquidate the apartment asset to fund their new life. But the real treasure was an email thread with someone called Mickey the Mover. A conversation about moving Connor's valuable items out of the apartment before Claire returned from Denver. Items that, according to the list, included Claire's grandmother's jewelry, her emergency cash stash, and her laptop containing 5 years of freelance work. Connor wasn't just stealing the apartment. He was planning to rob her blind and frame her as an abusive wife. The final piece fell into place when she found Ashley's emails to her mother, Judge Patricia Winters herself. Ashley had been feeding her mother a steady diet of lies about Claire's dangerous behavior and Connor's fear for his safety. The judge was already prejudiced against Claire before any case reached her courtroom. But Ashley had made one crucial mistake. In her eagerness to paint Connor as a victim, she'd included details about their affair timeline that directly contradicted Connor's claims about when the marriage deteriorated. Claire screenshot everything, her hands steady now with purpose. She wasn't going to outlawyer Connor and his connected girlfriend. He was going to outmaneuver them. Her phone buzzed with a text from Connor. Ashley's coming by to pick up some things. Don't make this weird. Claire smiled, the first genuine smile she'd felt in weeks. Oh, Connor, she whispered to her empty apartment. I'm going to make this very weird indeed. She had 6 hours before Ashley arrived. 6 hours to set the perfect trap. Time to remind Connor why you never corner a woman who has nothing left to lose. Claire arranged herself casually on the couch as Ashley's heels clicked up the hallway. The apartment looked normal, peaceful. Exactly what she wanted. Connor arrived first, his key still working because Claire hadn't changed the locks yet. He looked around nervously like a thief casing a joint. Where are the papers Sarah mentioned? He demanded. The ones about the deed fraud charges? Oh, those. Claire held up a manila folder. Right here. Ashley swept in, wearing designer everything, her arm linked through Connor's like she owned him. The sight should have hurt, but Claire felt only cold satisfaction. So this is the famous wife, Ashley purred, looking around dismissively. Smaller than I imagined. Claire smiled. Ashley Winters. The judge's daughter. Funny, your mother doesn't know about this little operation, does she? Ashley's composure flickered. I don't know what you mean. Oh, I think you do. Claire opened her laptop, turning it toward them. See, Connor forgot to change his email password. Sloppy, but then again he's always been careless with details. Connor's face went white as his inbox filled the screen. You can't access my... Ashley, I can. Marital property laws are fascinating that way. Claire clicked through the emails with theatrical precision. Here we have Connor and Ashley planning their exit strategy 10 months ago. Here's the detailed plan to liquidate my apartment. And my personal favorite, Ashley telling Mommy Dearest what a dangerous, unstable woman I am. Ashley lunged for the laptop, but Claire snapped it shut. The beautiful thing about digital evidence, Claire continued, is how easy it is to copy. I've got backups on 3 different servers, plus hard copies delivered to several interested parties. Connor's voice cracked. What interested parties? Well, the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit for starters. Turns out defrauding property sales across state lines gets their attention. Then there's the State Bar Association. They're very interested in Connor's lawyer's creative interpretation of fraud laws. Claire stood, walking to the window. But my favorite recipient was Judge Patricia Winters' Professional Conduct Board. Amazing how quickly they respond when you send them evidence that a sitting judge's daughter has been manipulating pending cases through familial pressure. Ashley went ash gray. You can't prove. I don't have to prove anything, Claire said. Your own emails prove it. Every poisonous lie you fed your mother about me, every detail about Connor's victimization, all contradicted by your earlier emails planning this con from the beginning. Connor collapsed into a chair. What do you want? Claire pulled out 2 sets of documents. Option 1. Connor signs over his claim to any shared assets. Ashley withdraws from her mother's court, and you both disappear from my life forever. Option 2. I release everything publicly and let the criminal justice system sort it out. She looked at Ashley's trembling hands, Connor's defeated posture. You have 10 minutes to decide. Ashley broke first. Connor, sign it. My mother will disown me if this gets out. But the money. There is no money. Ashley screamed. You sold a house you don't own. We're broke and about to be arrested. The sound of Connor's pen scratching across the papers was the sweetest music Claire had ever heard. 3 months later, Claire sat in her newly redecorated apartment, morning sunlight streaming through windows that finally felt like hers alone. The space had been transformed, not just physically but spiritually. Gone were the traces of Connor's occupation, replaced by artwork that made her smile and furniture that reflected her taste. The legal aftermath had been swift and decisive. Connor's fraud charges were dropped in exchange for his signed confession and complete forfeiture of any claim to shared assets. Ashley had quietly resigned from her position at her father's law firm and moved to Seattle, her relationship with Connor apparently another casualty of their failed scheme. Judge Winters recused herself from family court cases for personal reasons, though courthouse gossip suggested the state bar's inquiry had been more thorough than anyone expected. Claire's phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Connor's living in a studio apartment in Newark. Works at a call center. Karma's beautiful, isn't it? But the victory felt complicated, tainted by the cost of winning. Claire had discovered she was capable of ruthlessness that shocked even her. The woman who'd destroyed Connor's life with calculating precision wasn't entirely recognizable as the trusting wife who'd taken that phone call in Denver. Her doorbell rang, interrupting her brooding. Morgan stood in the hallway holding coffee and pastries, her smile bright with concern. "How are you holding up?" Morgan asked, settling onto the couch Claire had fought so hard to keep. "Different," Claire answered honestly. "Stronger, I think. But different." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the city wake up outside. The apartment was peaceful, secure, entirely Claire's. But it was also quiet in a way that hadn't entirely settled yet. "Any regrets?" Morgan asked. Claire considered the question carefully. Connor's betrayal had shattered her faith in partnership, in trust, in the belief that playing fair guaranteed fair treatment. But it had also revealed strength she'd never known she possessed. "No regrets about winning," she said finally. "But I regret that winning required becoming someone I didn't know I could be." The sun climbed higher, washing away the shadows Connor had cast over her life. Claire had her home, her freedom, and her self-respect. She'd proven that underestimating the wrong woman was a mistake men made only once. It wasn't the ending she'd dreamed of when she'd married Connor 6 years ago. But it was the ending she'd earned, fought for, and deserved. And sometimes, Claire reflected, justice was worth the price of innocence. The game was over. Claire had won. But the woman who'd claimed victory was someone entirely new.